Our cooperation will shape the future. Absolutely, a new era of partnership.
Let's start with a simple idea. You build the perfect machine for one specific job. It's a masterpiece of engineering design from the ground up to take one raw material and turn it into something incredible. Now, imagine someone suddenly cuts off your supply of that one thing. Your multi-billion-dollar masterpiece is left idle, forced to run on expensive substitutes that just don't work as well. It gets less efficient. It loses money. That is exactly what's happening right now along the US Gulf Coast. From Texas to Louisiana, a line of some of the biggest, most complex oil refineries on the planet is facing a strange hunger. These aren't just factories. They are custom-built, finely tuned giants. And for decades, their perfect fuel, their preferred ingredient, came from just one place, Venezuela. It was a perfect partnership. Venezuela had a special kind of oil, cheap but thick and dirty. And the US Gulf Coast had the only refineries sophisticated enough to handle it. They were built for each other. It was a multi-billion-dollar marriage of supply and demand. But now that supply has been severed and these refineries engineered for a specific cheap meal are now on a forced diet of more expensive, less suitable crude from other places. Their competitive edge is fading by the day. They are quite literally starving for the one thing they were made to consume. So what is so special about this oil? Why can't these refineries just use something else? Think of oil on a spectrum. On one end, you have the light, easy stuff, thin, flowing, almost ready to become gasoline. On the other end, you have the heavy, difficult oil. It's thick like tar, packed with sulfur and metals. For most of the world, this heavy oil is a headache. It's a problem oil. It's harder to pump, harder to ship, and much, much harder to refine. Venezuela sits on oceans of this heavy oil. They call their main blend crude. For standard refineries, it's a costly challenge. But for the ultra-complex refineries on the US Gulf Coast, it was the perfect cheap raw material. Their advanced equipment was designed to break down this exact thick sulfuric crude. They turned a problem into pure profit. This wasn't just a business deal. It was a geochemical handshake. Venezuela had the unique difficult product. America built the unique sophisticated machine to process it. One side's problem was the other side's opportunity. That's what made this partnership so powerful. And that's why breaking it apart is causing such a massive shockwave. You don't just replace a partnership that was written into the very steel of these industrial giants. So what shattered this decades-old partnership? The story takes a dramatic turn in early 2026. In a bold move, US forces intervened in Venezuela. The United States just attacked Venezuela's capital, hitting a stated goal was clear: to take control of the country's chaotic political and economic situation. A key part of that plan was to seize control of the lifeblood of its economy, the oil. The new interim government backed by the US made an immediate and stunning announcement: a total ban on all oil exports. The order was to shut the valves, lock the ports, and freeze everything. No oil leaves the country. Think about that for a second. The idea was to hit pause to audit the industry and then restart it under new management. It was like trying to perform corporate takeover on a giant living organism. But you can't just pause a global commodity flow that fast. The instant that order went out, it didn't just create a political crisis. It triggered an immediate industrial and economic crisis. The ports went quiet. The tankers that were supposed to load up didn't, and that perfect thick Venezuelan crude started backing up with nowhere to go. But here's where the plan met reality. The global market for oil is like water. It always finds a crack to flow through. Within days, something remarkable happened. Dozens of oil tankers already sitting in Venezuelan ports or just offshore faced a choice: obey the new export ban and sit idle, or try to deliver their already purchased cargo to waiting customers. Many of them chose to run. They loaded up with crude and fuel oil and they left port in open defiance of the blockade. To avoid being tracked, intercepted or seized, these ships began switching off their automatic tracking systems on global shipping maps. They simply vanished, becoming ghost ships, a shadow fleet sailing in silence across the Atlantic. This wasn't just Venezuela defying the US. This was the trillion-dollar global energy trade finding a way. Traders, ship owners, and foreign buyers had created a real-world smuggling operation overnight. The very oil that the US was trying to control was slipping through its fingers, heading into the shadows of the high seas. The first clear sign that this takeover would not be as simple as turning off a switch. Now, let's follow the chain reaction. With the ports blocked by the US order, the oil inside Venezuela had nowhere to go. Think of the entire country's oil system like a bathtub. The wells keep pumping water in, but suddenly the drain is completely shut. The tub fills up and then it starts to overflow. For an oil industry, that tub is a network of storage tanks. And when those are full, you face an impossible choice. You have to turn off the tap. You have to shut down the wells themselves. And this is where the short-term political move created long-term industrial damage. Shutting down an oil well isn't like turning off a light switch. It's a delicate and often destructive process. Without constant, careful pressure management, wells can collapse inward. Sand and debris can flood in, clogging them forever. Reserves can be permanently lost. So, in a brutal twist of irony, the U.S. action meant to secure Venezuela's oil wealth was now actively destroying it. The very capacity America hoped to one day restart was being killed off well by well. The plan to control the supply was strangling it at the source. Now, let's track that escaping oil. Where did all those shadow tankers from our ghost fleet go? They couldn't just show up anywhere. Most of the world's refineries couldn't handle Venezuela's special thick crude. They needed a very specific welcoming port, and they found one. In fact, they found a network of them already built and waiting. For years, while the US and Venezuela were locked in their partnership, China was building a parallel system. They financed and built massive state-of-the-art oil refineries in strategic locations like Oman on the Arabian Peninsula and in Malaysia in Southeast Asia. And here's the key, these factories weren't built for just any oil. They were engineered with the same advanced technology as the US Gulf Coast plants, specifically designed to process heavy, challenging crude, the exact kind coming from Venezuela. It was a ready-made, legal, and efficient back door. So, as the US slammed the front door shut in the Caribbean, the oil simply flowed to the open back door in the east, welcomed by refineries that were practically built for it. Now, this pivot to the east wasn't a complete clean victory for China. To understand why, we have to look at a single massive piece of machinery. Just months before the US moved in, a private Chinese company had made a huge gamble. They had sailed a colossal billion-dollar oil production platform named the Alula all the way to Venezuelan waters. So how did the rest of the world view this dramatic move? China's government didn't just get angry about its frozen platform. It condemned the entire US intervention as illegal, a brazen violation of international rules. But the shock waves went far beyond just Beijing. Think about India or even some refineries in Europe. They were also customers of Venezuelan oil. Overnight, their supply from a major producer looked insecure and politically risky. This single action did something profound. It spooked the market. Buyers around the world thought, if this can happen to Venezuela, could it happen to another country we rely on? They started looking harder at oil from places like Iran and Russia. The US move didn't just change the flow of oil from one country. It made everyone question the stability of the entire global energy map. That cheap, heavy Venezuelan oil, the very ingredient US refineries were built to use. It's no longer feeding them. Instead, it's fueling their direct competitor's engine. The shadow tankers deliver it to Chinese refineries in Oman and Malaysia. There it's turned into gasoline and diesel which is then sold across Asia and Africa. The result is a stunning paradox. The US action intended to seize control of vital oil has done the opposite. It's starving America's own industrial giants while simultaneously financing the global expansion of its biggest economic rival. The plan to secure energy has accidentally strengthened a competing supply chain. So where does this leave us? Who wins and who loses? In the short term, the winners are clear. The Chinese refining networks that got a new cheap supply of their perfect raw material and the global traders who navigated the chaos. The losers, the US Gulf Coast refineries facing higher costs. The Venezuelan oil fields suffering lasting damage and global market stability itself. The great gasoline pivot isn't just about tankers changing course. It's a powerful signal. A signal that the world of energy and the economic power that comes with it is fracturing and reorganizing before our eyes. The attempt to control the game may have just changed the playing field forever.